going to go ahead and begin by introducing myself. I'm Chris Fueling, founder, CEO of Lendingwise. And today we're going to go over a little bit overview of the platform and some new technology that we've been working on and some new updates that I think everyone will be excited to see. Today's audience is a mixed crowd of some existing customers on the platform, and it has some potential new customers. So allow me to get started. So Lendingwise is fairly turnkey, right? Out of the box, it has a lot of functionality, pre-built, pre-configured, but yet it's highly customizable as it needs to be for commercial lending, private lending. It's definitely not a one size fits all. And hold on, I always get nervous when I'm doing this presentation. I want to make sure everyone can hear me, make sure I didn't goof up and not turn on my audio. Can I just get a confirmation everyone's good? They can hear me? Daniel, can you confirm? All right. Awesome. Cool. So inside the platform, we have some, built-in modules to help you have like a CRM, loan origination, lender marketplace to get you connected to capital providers or back-end investors, servicing functionality, draw management, and obviously integrations to help connect you to valuable third-party service providers, and an open API to kind of extend your integration desires. So again, it's pre-configured for a lot of the business purpose lending space. So bridge, fix and flip, DSCR rental, construction, CRE, even some business funding products as well that are not really real estate focused. So a lot of things that you would find under the commercial lending umbrella. We've been around since 2017, over 100 billion in funded loans, well over 300 companies use us and trust us to manage their loan originations. In analyzing a lot of this data, we were able to see that it's an average of 17 days to close a loan from the point of data entry, meaning like the record creation date, to when it was marked as closed or funded. And that's pretty impressive. So it wasn't counting from a appraisal order date or a signed term sheet, but actually when the record was created. So that's pretty fast timing there. And these are just some of the logos that use us and trust us. If you guys are familiar with the space, you guys will know that these are some of the juggernauts and big players, well-known, CV3, Builders Capital, and we even have some large commercial consumer mortgage guys who kind of tiptoed into the business purpose side, like CMG and others. And starting out with just a quick little overview on our platform, dashboard functionality, very important, critical. I'll just give you guys a quick overview on that. And, this is what you see when you log in. You see your number of loan files here, aggregate loan amount, tied to the loan stages that you set up in the system. But out of the box, they come with all these loan stages or milestones, however you want to refer to them. They're editable, of course. And down below, you have your upcoming closing. So really important loans that have a closing date established. You're going to see them here. And it's nice to know really quick at a glance the latest notes, who's assigned to the file, where it came from. And then when you click on the folder icon, love this, you can see, what actions, what workflow steps have been completed, right? And they're color coded to show like what status they're in. So like this guy has a problem because it's in red and it's got a mechanic lien and needs to get resolved under the title lien search. So that's interesting. So all these workflow steps are customizable and they're smart, meaning there's conditional logic. So based on the loan type, or the back-end lender investor or the property type, it'll trigger the right workflow steps, guiding you and your people to do the right thing. And you can even bake in, standard operating procedures or underwriting guidelines with these tooltips to kind of really nail down the requirements on who needs to do what. Dummy proofing the system, of course. And on the right is your required docs. So these are all the things that are needed to build out your loan file. And they're also color coded to represent the different statuses they might be in. You have your notes, etc. So again, this conditional logic applies here where it knows what docs are needed based on the loan type, property type, back-end investor or lender you're working with, etc. So a lot of smart logic in Lendingwise. There's a reason why we call our tagline, lend smarter. So back to our slideshow here. So what we have here is, I made a little update here, a borrower, loan pipeline, and contacts. In every platform you guys have played with, CRM related, for example, you'll have these objects in there. You have your contact, your company, and your deals, right? Like every CRM's like that. So we follow that same logic too. So we have borrowers, we have loans, and then we have contacts. They all play nicely inside of the loan where they belong, but it's nice to have separate borrower profile that stores all that nitty-gritty data on the borrower and their entities, right? A lot of commercial lending is tied to the entity as the primary borrower, but a lot of times a borrower, a person, will have more than one entity that they work with. So we've got a unique borrower profile that stores all of that, including the entity members and the documents and all that unique data fields tied to them. And so when they come back and do a second loan, they don't have to rekey all that information and upload docs all over again. And the loan pipeline, we'll go over that in just a second, but the contacts, third-party contacts like brokers, lenders, investors, title, appraiser, realtor, et cetera, right? There's a lot of parties involved in real estate loans, and so we help track all of that, store them in a separate list, and you can see all your contacts and all the loans that they've worked on. And that's great for marketing and building relationships with those folks. A real quick glance at the pipeline. This is your stages up here. These are your loan records here. You can totally customize this view on a per user level to have the right columns of data that matter most. You can have different views for different purposes. And you can filter by, these are different filter options, file type, loan type, or closing date, maturity date, servicing status, loan product type, right? And that helps you filter the data out. And then, of course, you can export it and do all types of custom reports, whether it's creating an investor loan tape, exporting a draw report, a servicing export, HMDA reporting, etc. We'll just do like a closed loan report, and these are all the fields. You can drag and drop the order that you want. You can add more fields to it by checking the box. So it's a great custom export feature out of the pipeline tool. Automation is big, right? That's important. We have a very advanced automation system that lets you automate emails, tasks, and webhooks based off of a number of trigger events. So allow me to show you real quick. So, this is your task templating engine, if you will. So you create your task, who's it going to be assigned to? You can do it by role, processor, etc. Just build out your task, and you can put dynamic data inside of it that populates loan level or borrower level information. Emails also can be, let me see here, let me open up a random one here. So this is a scheduled email, it'll be 5 days after, any of these critical dates, right? So you can tie it to, this is good for compliance. So a lot of times things are sensitive based on certain dates. So you can do it off of, maturity date, application date, appraisal order date, right? And the email can have whatever content you want inside, and you can put merge tags. These are just a few of the merge tags, but we have hundreds of merge tags that will populate inside the email. And pretty cool, you can send in the email auto-generated documents that, maybe they're disclosures, maybe it's a term sheet, different documents for different reasons might be useful to send in this email automatically to the borrower, ready to be e-signed. And then webhooks. Webhooks are just a way to send data to and from two different platforms or systems, right? So an example would be, I want to send data from Lendingwise and go to Salesforce, for example, right? And so if you were to look at this, in this case, looks like we're using a Zapier middleware hook, but you can also do it straight into Salesforce if you know what the right endpoint is. And then this is the data that we're taking from Lendingwise, and there's a whole library of fields here that you can choose from. And it's how you build your they're called data payloads, right? So you're sending a payload of information through a webhook to update the record that lives somewhere else, right? So that's what webhooks are for. And now you go to the rules. Now you can bake in here. I'm just going to pick a random one. So here you're just setting the name of the rule. What is it used for? Can it repeat more than once? Oftentimes the conditions will go on and off, right? Be true and false at different periods of time. And if you want it to only happen once, you would leave that off. But if you want it to continue firing off every time the conditions are true, a second, third, and fourth time around, then that's fine. And these are the options, right? So you have all these, let's call them trigger events, right? When a loan file is created or updated, or when the file status is one of your file statuses or stages, right? Substatus, workflow steps is one of your workflow steps. Prepare closing docs, order appraisal, order title, right? And a lot of other, call them conditions for your trigger rules. The borrower type is an entity or an individual. So it's a lot of granular permissions, and there's, you can tie these conditions to each other. So it can be like, and this has to be true, and this has to be true. And you can say or is not, right? So it's wild how many variations you can come up with. So we constantly add additional actions in here and different trigger events. So down below is where you set the action when these rules are true. And you can say, hey, I want to change the status of the file to a different status. I want to set off one of these tasks, emails, webhooks, or even assign a back office user. So when these rules are true, that means I need to give it to a particular processor, underwriter, manager, etc. on your system. Cool. So that's the automation tour there that I think a lot of you were anxious to see. Real quick, we know the platform can be white labeled under your own URL and identity, right? So that way, when someone goes to fill out a loan app or check the status of a loan, right? They can do it all through like app.yourdomain.com, for example. And that's what keeps people thinking that the whole technology is yours. And that's cool, right? I want you guys to get brand awareness, build trust and credibility with your client base, your affiliate base, and it makes it look like you guys have a multi-million-dollar platform under your brand. And the other key point, robust user architecture, I'll quickly highlight that. This highlights, every Lendingwise account has the capacity, horsepower to give you something pretty robust if you want and need it, starting with your back office team has a bunch of roles. These roles can have permissions and what they do and how they edit files, right? And these files in the back office, the loans, right, come from sales channels down below, which we call branches, right? So one main branch is usually, what most people need and get by with. And under the branch has loan officers or AEs who can work with the borrowers direct or brokers underneath them, and they bring in borrowers, right? Or maybe you have your brokers directly funneling deals through the branch that end up in your back office, right? But it's nice to know that you can set up additional branches for other business use cases, like a correspondent lending division, right? Where you can white label your sub accounts so they can bring in their own network of loan officers and or brokers and have their own little private account that's tied to all the settings that you created for the master account. And the good news is that you in the back office will see all their loan production and kind of can give the final underwrite and help, do fulfillment on all the loans that each of these branches are doing. And each branch can have their own set of loan products that you've enabled for them, et cetera. And maybe you set up different divisions or satellite offices, different use cases for different folks when it comes to setting up more than one branch. And, you know, as we said earlier, it's pre-built with a lot of different loan products. I really want to emphasize the investor lender overlay feature. It's really applicable for both brokers and lenders, right? For the system to know exactly what fields, required docs, workflow steps to help you build out a perfect file that is sellable to a back-end investor or lender ready for lender A versus lender B is a powerful feature. And that's what we give you with Lendingwise, the ability to have overlays. So, you know, the system knows exactly what data to collect and what docs are needed and what action items need to be done that's unique to a particular lender and investor. Getting into the, you know, uniqueness of our platform, we split up the intake into 2 steps, quick app and full app. So you want to start with the quick app, which gathers just enough information to determine eligibility, issue out a soft quote, right? That's what the quick app's all about. And you can upload some docs. And then if approved and everyone's happy to move forward, you let them fill out the full app, which gets a majority of the information needed to start processing underwriting. And these quick app and full apps are instantly available to all your sub-users right out of the gate. So every time you create a user, I'll remind you the users are here. Every branch level user, every loan officer, every broker, right, gets their own quick app and full app web forms, okay, to intake deals. Getting into the AI agent stuff, which a lot of you were excited to hear about and see. So we do support document uploads, obviously, right? And during the quick app and full app submission, you can ask for documents, of course, or any point in time throughout the loan origination stages, right? And so what we did is build some AI agents that are smart enough to know how to look at certain types of documents. For example, identity documents would be a special AI agent. Loan documents would be a specialized one, along with property documents and entity documents, right? So you gotta be careful. You don't wanna have one agent try to do it all, because there's limited context window behind all these agents to do things accurately. So we split up these agents to be very specialized, to know how to look at these documents. And we're starting with something pretty simple, right? Let's validate them and make sure they are correct and valid. What does valid mean? For a driver's license, you know, it's gotta be, you know, some type of government issued valid ID with, you know, that's not expired, right? And it could be a military ID, it could be a passport, could be state ID, etc. And it's going to look for whether it's expired or not, and whether the borrower name matches that within the loan application. And you know, other documents could be like if it's a loan document, you know, operating agreement, right? Or, you know, these things need certain validation, right? And AI knows how to vaguely look at it and say that that's definitely an operating agreement. That's a loan application, right? And then certain documents must have signatures, right? And so those basic level validation criteria is going to be kind of preset, done for you guys, and you can overlay your own instructions as needed. And the goal is to get them validated at the point of upload, right? You're not going to be clicking buttons after the fact and say, yeah, run my AI agent because I'm a human and I don't have time to look at all of it by myself. We could do that. We have that option, but I think it's more important, you know, to run it at the point of upload. So as a borrower uploading something, if I upload something that's not correct or missing the requirements for validation, I want it to be prompted to them and give them an opportunity to correct it and fix it at that point. And AI is fast enough and good enough, smart enough to do it all right at that point of upload. And so, for example, let me see if I can show you. Let's go here. This is an example. Second. We'll go to like the docs portal. So this is something that borrower facing, right? Every loan file gets this you know, specialized encrypted link that you can share with the borrower, the broker, anybody that wants to kind of quickly see the status and upload docs. And so this is the point of upload. When you upload something here, and if you confirm that it has AI behind it, it will run it and let you know if it's valid or not, right? And if you want to see real quick the settings area, just to see, I'm going to show you this and you're going to be like, wow, it looks so simple, but it was actually pretty difficult to build and took a lot of engineering and testing with different models to get really good, accurate results often. So I'll just pick like driver's license. So this is our general required docs area. I'm going to pick the driver's license or other form of ID. So here, when you enable the AI agent for this particular type of document, and you see here that we have identity verification agent, and then these are the other ones that we're working on, right? But the hard part was getting the framework for training it and getting it to know how to run through the extraction layer to pull the data out and validate everything. So we got it all figured out, and now we're going to quickly start accelerating these other agents that have all these other types of documents, right? I was telling you about that earlier, specialized agents. And so for right now, I'm turning it on for the identity verification agent. And here you can enable OCR, which we're thinking about just leaving that on all the time by default. And then here you can specify run the agent on file upload. So if that's off, that means you can basically run it on demand in the back office, like as a processor. So we would recommend you start with that, get comfortable with the results that you're getting. And if you're getting awesome, consistent results, then turn it on so that way it's more of a borrower-facing tool that works right at the point of upload. In fact, for anybody that uploads anything, that's the toggle that you want on, and then let the AI scan it and let you know if it's valid, if it passes, it fails, or if it just needs human verification. And it will always tell you kind of why it came up with its reasoning, okay? Moving on. We covered a little bit of this, dynamic workflow steps, required docs, loan fields. That was that investor overlay, and just that whole dynamicness is really powerful for you guys. Document automation with eSign, so that way you can generate your own documents or use some of our third-party integrations with Lightning Docs or DocLab. Other vendors like GoDocs probably work with webhooks, right? But happy to do a more native integration if needed. We've also integrated with Google Docs and Sheets, so you can build your own templates, right? And we can actually do documents with e-signature unlimited for free with our built-in native e-sign tool. So that's a lot of horsepower in our system to generating documents. The marketplace, I'm gonna not go into that too deeply, but it's a great way to connect with capital providers or investors, and it kind of matches your loan with the available capital providers that are out there. Happy to always add more lenders that are clients of ours and put them in the mix so they can get more deal exposure from some of the other guys that are more correspondent or broker level. And so all-in-one digital platform is the overall mission and goal that we deliver for you guys, starting from the point of sale, web forms, to portals, to built-in e-sign, term sheet disclosures, a lot of customization on your pipeline and workflow steps. The doc collection engine is also a huge, powerful tool. And now with the AI overlay on it, it's just going to be even more powerful. Doc generation and servicing. And that we're going to cover servicing today towards the end here. Helping you consolidate a lot of your tech stack is the goal as well. If we can help you get rid of a lot of random tools, hodgepodge of stuff, put it all under one system, and not nickel and dime you along the way, I think it's a huge value proposition that a lot of companies appreciate with us. Since we've been doing this for so long, we know how to help you get launched super fast. Believe it or not, I would say on average it's 30 days. It goes more on occasion when you have a bigger company with more complex requirements, integrations, custom docs. But on average, we can get a solid production-ready platform, working in tandem, right, with our onboarding team in 30 days or less. And when you do that, and do it right, you're going to see a lot of user adoption across your entire team, including external partners and brokers and borrowers. Being able to see real-time updates 24/7 is huge. Pricing, like you saw a minute ago, super affordable. Our architecture is highly scalable. It sits on AWS, highly compliant, aligned with SOC 2, PCI compliance. Your data is always backed up. We've never had a breach, and your data is safe and secure. And with AWS, you have almost 100% uptime. We pride ourselves in delivering resources to help you guys learn the platform efficiently. So we have a whole Lendingwise University course. It's free to take. It helps guide you through all the different modules and get set up, become an expert on the platform. It's funny because we actually kind of indirectly pay you to take this class. What does that mean? Well, normally we do a premium onboarding fee around $3,500. And if you take this course, we actually give you 50% off that onboarding fee. And so it's a great way to actually really learn the system, and whoever you designate as your system admin, I would highly recommend you take it, and you actually get some money back in return. And then these are just some concierge options. So this is kind of walking you through the onboarding flow. This could be a 3 to 4 week program. Sometimes we can do it faster. Sometimes we have to stretch it out based on the client's needs. But it just shows you how serious we take onboarding folks into the platform. And in fact, one of the offers you saw in the webinar notes, right, was we want to extend an offer. We can't do this for everyone. So I would say, we can probably have enough bandwidth, depending on complexity, anywhere from 5, maximum, 10 per month of building out a proof of concept. What a great way to try before you buy. We're so confident in our platform. We know that a lot of the stuff is kind of pre-configured out of the box. If you can deliver us basic set of requirements, right? Like sample loan apps, some hopefully documented processes, workflow steps, what are the required docs that you need for the different loan types that you support. Give us some basic overview, and we have a template you could fill out to guide you on that. That's what we need to build out a proof of concept that matches your internal business logic and loan types. If you give us some rate sheets and guidelines, we can bake that in as well. And we'll do some of that work for you up front. And that's what gives you guys a platform that you can play with, kick the tires, trial it around, let your stakeholders see it, and it's proof of concept, right? It's the same platform that would go live if you did purchase the platform, so it's not going to be just a fake account that we throw away when we're done. It'll actually be the final account if you like what you see, and we'll continue to build on it. So what I'm going to do is start handing off to Daniel, and some of the things he's going to cover is some of these key points here. The new layout for structuring loans, right, with an improved UI UX, calculations to make it clean and easy to structure loans for the different loan types, revamped the whole draw management process to intake project, like rehab budgets, scope of work, right? Create your own templates for that. You can review and revise these budgets collaboratively. And servicing 3.0, complete overhaul. We've had a couple years of beta in our current, version of it. And so we've gotten enough feedback and I gave Daniel a lot of developer power to kind of rebuild as needed. So he's going to be showing you some of that today. And we've also got more developers on staff doing a lot of integration. So I want to announce that we have Lightning Docs, DocLab, Exactus, Trinity to do feasibility inspection ordering, and several more coming right behind them for TruePick, FCI, Rigora for ordering appraisals, etc. Daniel, you ready to take it over and showcase some of the new stuff that you've been working on?
Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right.
I'm going to stop sharing.
Yep, I'm requesting to share. Just let me know when you can see my screen and I'll get started.
Yep, I see
Okay,
it.
so Chris just mentioned those 3 items, pretty major initiatives for us. There's more behind that, but we're not quite ready to talk about those items, so we'll just focus on these 3. What I have on my screen right now is the loan terms section in Lendingwise that all of you should be used to. This is a refinance with all of our fields turned on, right? Some of you might kind of remove some fields. You have that ability in your form field controller, but this is what it looks like with everything turned on. And when you take a glance at it and just try to understand what's happening, and I'm looking at this right side column, there's a lot of variables here. And I would say they're not necessarily logically grouped. So when I say that, we're calculating 4 values: project value, cash out, total loan amount, current loan balance. And the payoffs are kind of using the cash out, but they're not using the total loan amount. There's just kind of a lot going on here. And more so than that, behind the scenes in the code, it's been overcomplicated. So one of my goals was to fix those 2 problems. And I'm going to show you our work thus far. So same thing, doing a refi. Right away, we're going to show you the payoff information as usual, but this new feature here, if you leveraged the refinance current mortgage section and people are putting in their liens, then you can sum total the current balances from all of those liens quickly and easily and get that up here. And then the benefit to doing that, when you calculate a base loan amount, formerly called initial loan amount, you have all of the common options that lenders use to calculate that: percentage of the purchase price, percentage of the as-is value, sum total of the payoffs in the case of a rate and term refi. And then alternatively, if you're doing like an acquisition, we're smart enough to know not to show you the payoff item, but we give you a percentage down payment option. And then if you're not a fan of any of those options, you just click manual entry and you can just put in a base loan amount. Super simple, right? And by the way, this whole section here, I call these helpers. They're used to help calculate the values on the right side. So that's your helper for base loan amount. Nothing has changed for the rehab budget that you're financing. You just put in the cost, the percentage you're financing, and that helps calculate it. Now this, in the old system, we ask you, hey, are you including an interest reserve, and are you financing it, yes or no? We're going to move away from that a little bit, and instead, whenever you put a reserve up here, it's implied that it's financed, and it'll increase the total loan amount. This is also a new feature. Some lenders do it. I don't think many, but we get requests to be able to charge interest on any financed closing costs or reserves. So that option will allow you to charge additional interest on that. And then, of course, this exists in the system today. You can kind of override all of this and just do some reverse calculating. So you can calculate your total loan amount as a percentage of the ARV, percentage of the loan to cost. And then, if you remember, I was saying how all these things are combined in a single column. We just separated everything out. So this is a dedicated tile to calculating your total loan amount. Super simple equation. You can see everything just adds together, and that's the total loan amount. No confusion. This is the initial funded balance, currently called current loan balance in the system. As I'm working on draws and servicing, I found more and more need to kind of separate between what the actual current loan balance is versus what you had at funding. So this will be isolated to the initial funded balance. Very simple formula. It's all read only. The only thing you would input is if you're doing an advanced draw at funding, you could do that here. And then similarly, we broke out the project costs. So you get a super clear picture of what's going into that. And then we kept all of our ratios the same. And a little bit of the similar rework down here on these sections for liquidity reserves, cash to close, and cash out. Just really made the formula more apparent to you, letting you know what's adding together, what's being subtracted. That way you don't really have to hover over tooltips and kind of decipher what's going into that formula. So that's the base UI rework, and really a lot of code cleanup behind that. It's a pretty big effort. And so when we go to release this, we'll announce it to you guys. And what we're going to do is stand up a snapshot of your files in one of our test environments and kind of allow you to join us in testing and comparing and giving feedback before we force this deploy. So that's the first thing, kind of an overhaul of an existing system. The next 2 things, draw management and servicing. I'm going to start with servicing first. This is under heavy development. I'm actually going to start here. This is still accurate. This is our knowledge base. I have all of this done, and I'm going to show it to you. It's our base architecture, all the pages we need. We're generating payment schedules, due date handling, and we're just solidifying all of the math before I finish it off with mortgage statements, payoff statements, and an initial launch for you guys to access. I imagine getting all of that done before the end of the year. And then I'm probably going to need a quarter per phase, just conservative estimate. I might surprise myself with our momentum, but I'll need to plug in the holdback component, notch a file generation, get our general ledger going, investor yield reporting, servicing reporting across files, not just within one loan file, and start working on payment integrations. So that's kind of the roadmap, but I'll show you where we're at thus far. And really, with both servicing and draw management, these two items can operate independently of the origination system. You don't need to have the origination file to do this, and I'll show you what I mean. So right away, when you open the servicing tab, there's a formal onboarding experience. Everything you need to service a file. Now, you can import information over from the origination side and it comes over. Great. If not, just